All right, so we've talked about how our behaviors can be shaped and how social roles can literally change who we are. But today, we're going even deeper. We're heading right into the heart of your own internal conflict. We're going to tackle a really controversial but absolutely foundational idea from Sigmund Freud, the war that is constantly raging inside your head. You know that feeling, right? One part of your brain says you really need to save money, but another part is practically screaming, oh, but you have to buy that new phone right now. Or, the classic battle between going to the gym and just ordering a pizza. It's a real struggle, isn't it? It feels like you're literally being pulled in two directions at once. Well, guess what? According to the OG of psychoanalysis, Sigmund Freud, you're not imagining it. He argued that you are fighting yourself. His big idea was that your mind isn't just one single coherent thing. Nope, he saw it as a chaotic battlefield, where three very different parts of you are in a constant knockdown, drag-out fight for control. So, let's meet the three main players in this inner drama of yours. These are the core factions that make up your personality, according to Freud: the id, the ego, and the superego. First up, we've got the id. Just think of the id as your inner beast, the little devil on your shoulder. It's the most primitive, instinctual part of you, and it's been there since the day you were born. The id runs on one thing and one thing only, what Freud called the pleasure principle. It wants what it wants, and it wants it now. It doesn't care about rules, reality, or consequences. It's pure, unfiltered impulse. Now, on the complete opposite side of the ring, you've got the superego. If the id is the devil on your shoulder, the superego is the angel. This is your moral compass, your inner judge. It starts showing up around age 5 or so, and it's basically the voice of your parents, your teachers, and society, all living inside your head. It's your conscience hitting you with guilt when you mess up and a little bit of pride when you do the right thing. And who's stuck in the middle of this epic clash? That would be the ego. The poor ego is the diplomat, the manager, the one who has to actually deal with the real world. Its job is to be the mediator. It has to listen to the wild demands of the id, consider the rigid, moralistic rules of the superego, and then try to figure out a realistic compromise that won't cause a total meltdown. It runs on the reality principle. So let's just break that down one more time. You've got the id, which is all about the pleasure principle. Its goal is pure instant gratification. Then there's the superego, driven by the morality principle, always pushing for moral perfection. And holding it all together is the ego, operating on the reality principle, just trying to find a realistic compromise. So where exactly is this war taking place? Well, to get a handle on that, we've got to look at one of Freud's most famous visuals, the iceberg model of the mind. Freud had this brilliant analogy. He said our mind is like an iceberg. The little bit you see sticking out of the water, that's just the tip. The truly massive, powerful part is all the stuff that's hidden deep down, beneath the surface. Okay, let's visualize this. That tip sticking out of the water is your conscious mind. It's everything you're thinking about right this second. Just below the surface, that's the preconscious. Think of it as your short-term memory. You can easily pull stuff from there, like what you ate for lunch. But then there's the giant submerged part of the iceberg. That's the unconscious mind. It's this deep, dark reservoir of all your hidden desires, fears, and memories that you're not even aware of, but believe me, they are pulling the strings. And here's where it gets really interesting. Your id, that impulsive beast, is completely underwater. It's 100% unconscious. Your superego, the judge, is mostly submerged too. And your ego? Well, the ego has the hardest job of all, because it has to operate across all three levels: conscious, preconscious, and unconscious, trying to keep the peace. So what happens when this internal battle gets a little too intense, when it really starts to rage? Well, that leads us right to the struggle for balance. According to Freud, the absolute key to a healthy personality is balance. And he had a term for the ego's ability to successfully manage the id and the superego. He called it ego strength. You can think of it like a muscle. Someone with strong ego strength can handle the pressure, but if it's weak, things can fall apart. And when things get out of balance, that's when you see problems. If the id takes over, you get someone who's super impulsive, maybe even reckless, just acting on every single urge. But on the flip side, if the superego is too dominant, you can end up with someone who is incredibly rigid, anxious, and just cripplingly judgmental of themselves and everyone else. Freud had another great analogy for this. He said the id is like a powerful horse. It's got all the energy, all the drive, all the raw power. But the ego is the rider. Without a rider, that horse is just gonna run wild. It's the rider's job to grab the reins and steer all that energy in a useful direction. And when that rider, the ego, starts to lose its grip on the horse, that's when we get into real trouble. For Freud, this is where a lot of our anxiety and psychological problems come from. It's the ego failing to manage that constant raging conflict inside. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This theory is over 100 years old. What does any of this have to do with my life today? Well, as it turns out, a whole lot. Just think about it. The entire marketing industry is basically an expert at whispering to your eye. Every buy now, pay later offer is a direct appeal to its need for instant gratification. And what about the whole self-care movement? That's really just a modern way of talking about strengthening your ego so it can handle stress. And that feeling of burnout, that constant guilt and self-criticism, that's your superego working overtime. Now look, it's true that a lot of Freud's theories get criticized these days for not being very scientific. It's tough to prove any of this in a lab. And yet, his influence is just everywhere. I mean, we all use terms like Freudian slip, denial, repression. They're part of how we talk about ourselves now. So, after wading through this internal battlefield, what's the big takeaway here? What are we supposed to do with all this? The most important thing to remember is that this isn't about trying to diagnose yourself or your friends. The whole point is to have a framework, a way to understand that this internal conflict, this tug of war, it doesn't mean you're broken. It's not a flaw. So the next time you feel that pull between what you desperately want to do and what you think you should do, just remember this. You're not going crazy. You're not failing. You are just being completely and totally human. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. And with that, I think we can say your internal committee meeting is adjourned.